It started innocently enough, a soothing app promising restful nights and gentle sounds. I was desperate for sleep, but as I delved deeper, I noticed unsettling glitches. Whispers seeped through the white noise, familiar yet foreign, unsettling my dreams. My nights morphed into a waking nightmare, shadows lurking just beyond my vision. Each sound, once comforting, twisted into a haunting echo of dread. The app that promised peace had unleashed a darkness I could never have anticipated. Prologue. The promise of better sleep. I'd always struggled with insomnia, countless nights spent tossing and turning, my mind racing. In a desperate bid for relief, I downloaded a new sleep tracking app called Somnus Guard. Its promises were alluring. Track your sleep cycles, monitor ambient sounds, and even detect irregularities in your nighttime environment. The app boasted advanced sensors that could pick up even the faintest sounds, promising to create a log of your sleep and even alert you to any disturbances. At first, it was nothing more than a modern tool, an extension of my smartphone that recorded my restless nights. I appreciated its detailed charts and soothing audio feedback. But soon, what I considered data points began to take on a much more sinister form. Chapter 1: The First Night of Unease. It started with small anomalies. On the very first night, as I drifted into a fitful sleep, Somnus Guard registered gentle rustling noises, as if someone or something was moving around my room. I dismissed them as the normal creaks of an old house settling at night. The following morning, however, the app's log showed an unidentified movement during the early hours of the night. The data was cryptic, a series of minute movements, like footsteps, recorded at a precise time. My heart pounded as I reviewed the timeline. I recalled being sound asleep in my bed, yet the app was suggesting otherwise. Had I imagined it? Chapter 2: Whispers in the Dark Night. By night, the recordings grew more detailed and more disturbing. I began hearing whispers when I closed my eyes, subtle enough to be mistaken for the wind. The app would suddenly alert me with a soft chime, displaying a timestamp when the whispering started. I told myself it was just stress, an overactive imagination fueled by the strange data. But one night, the whispers became more distinct. Lying in bed, I heard a faint murmur, a half-formed sentence that seemed to come from the darkness of my own room. "I'm here," it said, almost too quiet to be heard, yet unmistakably clear. I sat up, heart hammering, eyes straining to pierce the darkness, but there was nothing unusual about my familiar surroundings. Chapter 3: Evidence Unfolds. Determined to find a rational explanation, I decided to test the app's capabilities. I set it to record ambient sounds continuously and began to notice patterns. Some nights the app would log not only footsteps and creaks, but also recordings of a soft breathing sound. In one instance, while reviewing the audio, I distinctly heard a low guttural hum, a sound that seemed to emanate from behind me, as if someone were right there in the room. I began to question my safety. How could an app designed merely to track sleep capture sounds that no one else claimed to hear? I thought about the possibility of a glitch or a bug in the software, but every update, every reinstallation, only confirmed the same unnerving patterns. There was something in my room that only the app could detect, a presence that I couldn't shake. Chapter 4: The intrusion becomes personal. One fateful night, the intrusion escalated. Around 2:00 a.m., as I lay in bed, Somnus Guard pinged an alert more urgent than before. The screen lit up with a live audio feed, and there it was again, the unmistakable sound of footsteps pacing slowly around the room. My pulse raced as I reached for my phone to check the live view. The app's interface showed a waveform dancing erratically, indicating movement. But my eyes caught something even more alarming. In the background of the audio, a voice whispered, "You shouldn't be alone." Frozen in terror, I sat up. The room was dark, illuminated only by the faint glow of the moon through my curtains. I scanned the space, nothing out of place, yet I felt exposed, as if unseen eyes were observing me. The next morning, sleep-deprived and shaken, I attempted to rationalize what had happened. I rationalized it as a mere overreaction, a misinterpretation of sounds my mind had crafted in the dark. Chapter 5. Unmasking the unseen. Unable to ignore the mounting evidence, I contacted a tech-savvy friend to review the app's data logs with me. Together, we combed through hours of audio recordings. There, buried among the typical ambient noises, were intervals of clearly recorded whispers, footsteps, and, most chillingly, a sequence where the app registered a distinct conversation. Two voices, one male and one female, were discussing something in hushed tones. They mentioned details of my daily routine and even referenced a locked door in my bedroom closet. How did they know such intimate details about my home? The realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. The app wasn't just tracking my sleep. It was inadvertently capturing intrusions. My home, my sanctuary, had been invaded. Chapter 6. The final confrontation. Determined to uncover the truth, I set up additional security measures. I installed motion sensor lights and even a separate audio recorder. That night, armed with both determination and dread, I prepared for the worst. I lay in bed, eyes fixed on the ceiling, waiting for the inevitable intrusion. At precisely 3:15 a.m., Somnus Guard's alert shattered the silence. The live feed showed a shadow creeping along the far wall. I bolted upright, heart pounding, as the shadow grew larger, moving with deliberate slowness. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone to capture the moment. The audio crackled with a new, piercing sound, a door creaking open. My closet door. I hadn't opened it in years. The sound of shuffling grew louder, and a whisper, unmistakable and chilling, filled the room. "I've been waiting." The intruder's presence was now undeniable. My eyes darted to the closet, where the door stood ajar. Summoning every ounce of courage, I rose from bed and crept toward it. The closer I got, the more I realized this was no mere break-in by a common thief. It was something else, something that had been lurking in the margins of my life for far too long. I flung open the closet door, expecting to confront a human intruder. Instead, I found only darkness and the faint smell of damp wood. Then my phone buzzed, a final notification from Safeguard. It was a new recording, time-stamped just seconds before my approach. I pressed play, and the recording revealed the horrifying truth. There was another voice, distinct and spectral, saying, "I live in the dark between your dreams and reality." Chapters: The Aftermath. The following day was a haze of disbelief and fear. I contacted authorities only to be met with skeptical looks. There was no sign of forced entry, no physical evidence that anyone had been in my home. The police dismissed my claims as stress-induced hallucinations until I shared the detailed recordings with them. Even then, their responses were cautious, and the investigation stalled. I couldn't bear the thought of spending another night alone. I replaced every lock, set up cameras, and even left my home for a few days. But the recordings continued. Somnus Guard's logs became an eerie chronicle of disturbances that persisted night after night. It wasn't just my home anymore. It was as if something had tethered itself to the app, a ghost in the machine that had found a way to breach the boundaries between our world and the dark spaces of our subconscious. I eventually learned that Somnus Guard was a new entrant in the market, boasting advanced sleep tracking features that even its developers couldn't fully explain. Rumors began to circulate in online forums about users experiencing similar, unexplainable disturbances. Some claimed their homes had been invaded by a presence only their apps could detect, while others described inexplicable audio logs that defied conventional explanation. Chapter 8. The unending vigil, how every night I wake with a start, my phone clutched tightly in my hand. Somnus Guard still records, its logs a constant reminder that I am not alone in the dark. I have learned to live with the dread, but every alert, every whisper reinforces the unsettling thought. Something is watching, waiting, and sometimes it reaches out. I share my story with the hope that someone out there will take heed. Be cautious with the technologies that claim to understand us completely. Sometimes, in our pursuit of comfort and better sleep, we may invite something into our lives that we can neither comprehend nor control. The sleep app that promised to monitor my rest has instead unraveled the fabric of my nightly peace, leaving me with a single haunting realization. The intruder isn't just a glitch in the code. It's a presence that transcends the digital, a specter that stalks the twilight between our waking lives and our darkest dreams. This is the story of how an everyday tool turned into a doorway for the unimaginable. As you settle in tonight, consider this. When you trust technology to watch over you, are you also inviting a silent, unseen presence into your home?